Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Could everybody please take a seat? And I have on my wrong glasses. No wonder it seems dark.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Trish Riley. I'm the chair of the Board of Trustees, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this board meeting and to say how pleased we are to be here at Presque Isle and at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. I'm going to forego any opening remarks until tomorrow when we reconvene in the interest of time, because our work before us is to hear about the University of Maine at Presque Isle. Do we need to take a roll call first? Okay, let's first do my language first. Okay. Without my glasses. So the language for trustees participating via technology will be counted toward a quorum to confirm trustee attendance and to ensure the trustees are able to clearly hear and understand the presentations and each other. The clerk will call the roll for the members of the Board of Trustees joining by technology. Nobody's there. And so we did that very successfully. Okay. And this meeting is streamed by YouTube. The Board of Trustees meeting is being streamed on YouTube, and closed captioning is available. So with that, let's forego any formal presentations and move directly to President Rice and to hear from the presentation from the university. And then we have to move over. Okay, why don't you? Okay. Yes, that's good.
Oh.
Are we doing it already? Are we?
Now it's just a blue screen behind you right now, so. Just go.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
Four chairs, right?
Yep.
Well, while they're looking for that, I can, first I want to welcome the Board of Trustees and all of our visitors here today, and particularly the faculty, students, and staff administration of this university. They're behind me. And thank them for being with us this afternoon on, a remarkably wonderful 82-degree day in Aroostook County in mid-September is truly a gift. And I do just, again, I want to acknowledge how important it is that you are all here today, really kind of starting this academic year with a Board of Trustees meeting at one of the campuses, I won't say coming out of this pandemic, but as we transition into whatever this newest phase of the pandemic is, it's very important. And I couldn't be happier to see you all here this afternoon and have the activities actually happen on a campus that we haven't welcomed you here for over 3 years. So, which I think is the longest length of time it's been since the Board of Trustees has been at this institution. So especially grateful for that. I also want to signify and notice, people have noted this on social media, and other venues and emails. 21 years ago today, of course, we were all experiencing something that none of us, imagine as something possible when the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia, those attacks. So again, I just want to acknowledge that this is the anniversary of that as well. And I know a number of us were either educators at the time or perhaps students at the time or in our professional careers in one form or another. And I know that's a day that is truly etched in our individual memories, as is mine, because I was just coming out of a college composition English 101 course when we started to hear of all the events that were unfolding. And again, I did hear that the Patriots lost, so I will put in, for those of us who are concerned about such things, put in a moment of silence for that. But to counter that, I do want to thank, especially just, I want to do a shout out to all of our athletic teams who have been playing in this heat, particularly the soccer teams, but the volleyball teams have been playing cross country as well. But the men's soccer had a remarkable win, first win in 12 years against our good rivals, Maine Maritime Academy, beating them 2-1, which really put, as I think the local media said, it put the NAC conference on notice that the Umpy Owls in men's soccer are for real this year. And it's just great to have that victory yesterday afternoon on the park fields. With that, what I wanted to do is, because so many members of this board, as I said, it's been 3 years since the Board of Trustees has had a meeting here. I have new colleagues as presidents. There's new colleagues on the board. Kind of calling this a reintroduction to UMPI, because some of you do have more familiarity with UMPI, but I know for some of you, this is your first visit to this institution. And for some, perhaps even the first visit to Aroostook County. And, hopefully by the end of the next 2 days, you'll know why so many of us make the choice to be here like I did 26 years ago and haven't left. So I actually had my dissertation advisor, Lindsay Bloom, who visited here and did an evaluation of the English program. A few years after I was here, she said after 5 or 6 years, she goes, "What are you going to leave, Ray? Are you going to move to, another institution?" And I was like, "No, I'm doing really good, with the program, developing the program." She goes, "Well, you're going to have to end up being president or something someday if you're going to stay." Well, I don't think she meant that seriously, but I did note that to her in a holiday card one year, said, "Look, it came true." But so I wanted to kind of give this reintroduction to UMPI, a sense of some of our strategies for growth over the last several years and the trajectory that we've been on that has led us to where we are now, which in some ways has been incredibly fortunate and an outcome of the incredibly hard work of many of the people here at this university, many of whom, again, you will see are behind me right now, and who you will hear from at the reception and at the dinner in casual conversations. And so you can get a stronger sense of who we are at this university. But I wanted to give you a sense of that. And also how a little bit of how we are preparing ourselves for as we move forward in our unified environment here. So one thing we wanted to do differently as well, and when Lisa LaDuke comes out to a suggestion with me, it's always kind of one of those offers that one shouldn't refuse, even if you could refuse it. So I actually heartily agreed to her thoughts about engaging actively this entire group. So what I'm going to do is brag about the institution for about 10 minutes, but reduce it just to that much, because we thought that was really important. You would have some broad points. So when you're asked about this activity, you can kind of think about some of the things I said, and maybe that will help with a couple responses here. But really what we're looking to do is engage responses from the people here at the UMPI community that are behind me, that again are faculty, staff, students, as well as this board member, as well as the board here, and any other members that would like to engage in this. And Dr. LaDuke will take us through that in a few minutes. So I'm going to give you a very short condensed version, which some of you may remember of some of the presentations that you get at these Board of Trustees meetings from a university. So with that said, I just want to take you through where basically you could say this is the last 6-7 years when I kind of came in as an interim president, bringing forward some of the policies and strategies of my predecessor, Linda Schott, but also ones that we started developing forward after that, which has positioned us now. And this year, we are very fortunate. We've seen a 10% increase in our enrollments for this year. Over the past since the beginning of the pandemic, we've actually seen a 48% increase in our populations, in our overall enrollments. And so we're very happy to be introducing 448 new students. A lot of those students are students from the state of Maine, but also particularly from out of state transfer students and adult learners in the Your Pace degree completion program that we started about 5 years ago. And that has really shown remarkable growth over the pandemic. So a little bit of what positioned us for this growth and what we're seeing at our university today. And also, frankly, that leads to some of the challenges that we know have in front of us. So I think the next slide will get you to kind of our response to the needs that we saw. And again, I'm thinking back 6-7 years ago, and that we were facing already at that time, looking at the knowledge of the demographic shifts that were happening, not just in the state of Maine, but all across New England, and realizing that we really had to position ourselves to meet a different reality than what 25 years ago I knew when I first came to this institution, when I would say 85% of the students were from the state of Maine, and the vast majority of those were from Aroostook County. So we started by a number of different areas of initiatives. This one I'll say is really taking a look at our portfolio, our academic portfolio, and how it met state and local needs. And that includes Aroostook County, but also how we could provide programming that was free from geographic confines. So that included the Your Pace programming I just mentioned. We became the first public institution in the Northeast that could offer a competency-based degree completion program. That's the largest enrollment growth in a individual program, if we view that as a program, in the UMS the last couple of years. We received a Title III Strengthening Universities grant, which allowed us to start building computer science and health administration programs, agricultural science, agribusinesses, the Zoman family greenhouse that some of you may have sped past on the gators there, allowed us to establish a program that, quite ironically, an institution in the heart of agricultural country did not have an ag science program. Marketing campaigns that address student interests in our institutional strengths, and early college programming, as did so many of our sister campuses, but also including the only public institution associate's degree that's delivered at a public high school right up the road at Limestone, MSSM. So we started to look at our programming, and that has been developing over the past, as I said, 6 years. Another area of response we took to the needs that we saw before us, include the next slide. And it's going to click, and there it is. And so we wanted to deal with affordability in regards to our programs. We engaged in what we called a Free for Four program, as well as a number of our sister campuses that included UMFK right to our north, UMA and Machias as well, in which, particularly working with Pell learners, we could guarantee that there would not be out-of-pocket tuition expenses for 4 years for those eligible learners. In regards to our Your Pace competency degree completion program, we issued a subscription-based tuition program. There's 6 subscription periods throughout the year, and so students pay one flat fee for those 6 subscription times, and they get as much work done during those times, as many competencies as they can complete during that period. So again, think about competency programs. It really unbundles the sense of time being the constant, and learning becomes the constant. So, and that has obviously been very successful with the growth of that program. Students graduate now with the least debt of any 4-year institution in the state of Maine. That is now 4 years running. U.S. News and World Report just identified again for the 4th year in a row that our students graduate with the least debt. And we've ensured our students' ability to thrive and succeed through various degree completion program campaigns, including EAB Navigate, which we have gladly embraced in a multitude of ways, both within and without the classroom, whether that's a traditional classroom, bricks and mortar, or whether that is a digital classroom. Another area of response. Yes, please. We really wanted to focus, and this developed actually over the course of the pandemic. Some of you may know the great sociologist, feminist Carol Gilligan, who really answered a lot of responses in regards to how psychology and sociology took as a normative practice what was really a construct of, one could say, the patriarchy, and really put a lot of questions to that, and redefined a lot of the work that happens now in social work and other programs. So we really wanted to ensure we had an emphasis on relationships rather than autonomy. That is, interpersonal relationships, whether it's between offices, whether it's between faculty and students, whether it's between each other on the cabinet, for instance, context dependent rather rather than rule or principle directed. Not that we don't have rules at this institution, but we try to ensure that everyone understands the context under which those rules and under which those relationships are being lived out. A special focus on hearing the other's voice and a recognition, particularly in a diverse environment in which we are really trying to approach greater inclusivity, in which a compromise and accommodation through understanding lead to an understanding of the other's voice rather than a canceling out of the other's voice. A focus on care and responsiveness, and a recognition that losing connection with others also means losing connection with ourselves. So focusing on interdependency. We have had, and just as of late, the last year, a lot of recognition from outside people that have either had workshops on our campus talking about this ethic of care that we worked into our into our culture here at our institution, as well as our strategic planning. So our next response was one of a culture of true belonging, as I noticed that goes along with this ethic of care, or as Brene Brown would say, braving the wilderness of higher education and all the things that come with that. So how do we build a culture in which we can be prepared for the vicissitudes, right? That we face, whether they're imposed upon us from the outside world and things that are happening way beyond our controls, or whether changes in education that we know we need to address. That included a service rewards promise and institutional values that was a part of this entire campus that developed those, the strategic plan 2025, which is a part of the entire strategic planning process that is happening now, and is really prepared to work in tangent and complementing the strategic plan that will come out of this system-wide process. A safe return process throughout the pandemic, Dare to Lead training that was held with not just cabinet members, but all levels of directors at this institution, the construction of a DEI council, restructuring of the university, the resurrection of the university senate, which represents all units of the institution, and a lot of work and analysis of the feedback we got through the great colleges to work for, and just before the pandemic, recognition as one of the institutions in the country that was a great college to work for. So I give you that kind of sense of the institution, of the work that we did, both in terms of our programming, but more importantly, in terms of culture. And that was something I realized as a president, that if we were going to be successful as a university, that we had to have a sense of a culture that not just defined ourselves, but in some ways defined ourselves in contradistinction to a lot of the pressures and a lot of the forces that are at work within higher education that sometimes cut against the grain of an ethic of care. So that is something we did deliberately over the past 6 years, particularly throughout the pandemic. And I applaud my colleagues and particularly the students who were part of that whole process and are part of this culture. So the people you'll meet in a minute, and I'll have Professor Leduc introduce the faculty, and Samantha will introduce the students that are with us. But I just wanted to make sure that you had that kind of overall sense of the institution, so you can all kind of participate in this next activity. Oh, okay. Yeah, so before I ask Lisa to come up, what I'll do first is, so you get a sense of the cabinet members that will be with us for both the reception and for the dinner, as well as I'm very fortunate that both the chair and the vice chair of our Board of Visitors are here. And our chair, of course, is Donna Lisnick, and I think she'll is right there. And some of you visited the nursing labs, which of course are named in honor of her husband, her late husband, who's worked with the university, made possible the funds that in turn made possible that entire unit that some of you just saw. And I know some of you have seen that previously. And Donna, of course, has a very is a renowned educator and former principal here at the university. And we're very fortunate to have her as our chair. And Tom Powers is the executive director of the Industrial Council at Presque Isle. He is our vice chair. Also, and I'm going to try to remember all the members of my cabinet. So if you guys can wave or something like that as I see you, I'll try to point you out here. So Jason Johnston is over on the left. He is our chair of arts and dean of arts and sciences. And moving this way, yes, who am I looking at? Oh, Melissa DeMerchant, human resources. And then Betsy Espy is our chief business officer. I see Dan Kane is our athletic director who had a good weekend with the coaches and our athletes, and I know I was pleased about that. I see Sarah Coyer, who is our dean of students. I see I see Barb Blackstone, who is dean of our College of Professional Programs, which includes education. I see Debbie Rourke, who is our executive director of advancement and a number of other things. I see Sue White, who is our new dean of enrollment. It's admissions and enrollment management. She likes being admissions first and enrollment management second. I see Dr. Susan Chang, who is our dean of the Your Pace programming, competency programming, and Rachel Rice, who is our director of marketing and communications. So again, you'll see all of them at the reception and at our dinner, and prepared to answer questions and engage in conversation. So with that, I'll turn this over to something truly new and different from Dr. Leduc.
So those of us in the room old enough to remember Romper Room, I felt like he was like, and I see Debbie and I see Barb. So my name's Dr. Lisa Leduc. Most of the trustees, at least the older trustees, know me. I've been faculty rep to the board for about 6 years. I've been an UMPI faculty member this is starting my 21st year. So it's 20 years since I've been here. I'm a professor of criminal justice. Samantha Morton's going to be up here in a minute as the student rep, and she's going to work with me. But first, I want to introduce some more faculty, and I'm going to use this. I was smarter than you, Ray. I got this. Are we on? Are we on? Yep. Am I on? Am I on now? Oh, there you go. So I just want to introduce some faculty. Ray was thinking, you probably know, especially the veteran trustees, that often we have some faculty come up and do a few slides here, a few slides there. And that was the plan. And then I said, Ray, I think the trustees are sick of being presented to. So why don't we try something different? So we still have faculty here, and I hope we can engage in a conversation with everybody in the room, but certainly if there's something that stands out either in their title or something they say in the discussion, please seek them out in the reception afterwards or even at dinner to talk more about their work, because each of them could be standing up here for an hour telling you some really interesting things that they're doing for UMPI. So a couple of people I want to highlight. We have Dr. B. Chim here, who is a joint appointment with UMPI and the Cooperative Extension and teaches a lot of our ag students. We have Jean Cashman, who is a professor of social work and has been here even longer than me. We also have Dr. Kim Siebold, and she has an excellent shirt on that says History in Stones, Reviving the Graveyards Shift, because she's doing excellent work with students mapping graveyards in the county and cleaning them up so that they're like pure white marble again. She has cards she'll hand out to you, so you'll see her website, and you should follow her on Facebook too. We also have Dr. Leah Allen, who is Associate Professor of English, and she is doing some really interesting stuff with some Davis Foundation money about reimagining our general education and doing those courses around which she calls big wicked issues or big wicked problems. So you might take a course in biology, a required course in biology or history in English, but it would all be dealing with maybe climate change or issues around DEI. So she's got a lot to say as well. Dr. Chun-Seng Wang, many of you will remember him. He's been a faculty spotlight before, our amazing GIS guy. So he always has lots to say. We also have one of our adjuncts here, Chuck Ainsworth, is a do everything man. So he teaches both live courses for us as well as online in the CBE competency in Your Pace, both in business and criminal justice. And he has this little full-time job as being a special agent for Homeland Security. So he does a lot. So those are the faculty here. And then I'm going to have Samantha Morton come up and introduce herself and some of the students. And then we're going to do this activity that I think if it works, then it's all kudos to Ray. And if it crashes and burns, it's my fault.
Hello, everybody. My name is Samantha Morton. I'm the student rep here at UMPI. I'm going into my junior year for exercise science here. And I'm an RA on campus. I'm involved with track and fields, and I'm a bunch of clubs. I'm president of dance club and involved in SGA and all those other fun things. But I'll be introducing to you some of the students on campus who, like me, are equally as involved in everything. So if I miss anything, apologies, but alrighty, I'll start with Caroline Dillenbeck. Caroline is in biomed, and she is our SGA president here on campus. She is awesome and is like the go-to if you need anything academic related or anything. Like, she knows everything that's going on. It's great. We have Nicole Cadell. She is in our nursing program. Again, she's involved in a bunch of clubs, including Student Nursing Organization, or SNO is what we call it on campus. We have KJ Minter. KJ is an RA on campus and is involved in basketball for sports teams. He also does Black Student Union and is involved in different business clubs and other things on campus. We also have Ryan, who is an RA on campus, and he is double majoring in business and mathematics. He also is involved in literally, I think, almost every club, like 7 clubs. Yeah, so he's the club guy, if anyone has any questions about that. But yeah.
So yeah, Heather, if you could go forward, I think one slide, that was Samantha. So we are going to be doing something, and this is actually, I want to give a shout out to Heather Nunez Olmstead, who is an instructional designer here, who helped me learn how to use this. And I started using it during COVID when I was teaching Zoom classes, and none of my students were turning their cameras on, and it was very difficult to have some kind of engagement. So this is something that supports you can do it live in a classroom, like we're going to try to do live here, but even on Zoom. So what's going to happen is once Heather, when I tell her to click on this, there's another screen is going to come up, and everyone needs to get their computers or phones out, and you guys are going to go to a website and put in a code number, and then it's going to give you questions for a survey, and we're going to have different teams in the survey. So don't answer any questions until I tell you what to do. But what this Mentimeter does is it creates a live word cloud. As people answer, a word cloud will come up on the screen. So that kind of starts a conversation. So people who might not want to unmute on a Zoom, or a student doesn't want to put their hand up in a classroom, if they enter this, and then I will just say, okay, well, what do people think about this word or this answer to the question? And someone else might say, oh, that's a really good idea. And that really introverted student is like, oh, someone liked my idea. So it's a good way to engage. And I thought it might be better than a bunch of slides for you all. So if we want to go, so I'll spoiler alert, there's going to be 2 questions. One is, what is UMPI's greatest strength? And 2, the second one is, what is UMPI's biggest challenge? But we're going to have 2 teams. So each survey has 2 questions, but different people answer them. It's the same question, but in honor of the first NFL Sunday of the season, we're going to have the home team. So the home people, which is anyone who studies or works or teaches at UMPI, is going to answer on their slide. And then we're going to have the visitors. So anybody who's visiting is going to answer. So we'll have 2 word clouds, kind of the UMPI team word cloud and the visitor word cloud for strengths. And then we'll do the same thing for challenges. So yeah, you'll need to go back. And then if you want to click on the strengths, and it should take you to that website. So if you go to menti.com, that's where everybody has to go, either on their phone or their computer. If you go to menti.com, and it will ask you for a code. And that code is up there, 39489564. So don't answer the questions yet. Just get to where you're on the code and you should see this question. Are people there? Sorry? Well, there's 2 slides for the home team. Just get there first. No, everybody has to get there for this. Sorry, thank you, Robert. There's going to be a second slide on this question for visitors. So everybody goes and enters 3948. menti.com. Let's hope that UMPI's Wi-Fi can manage this, Ray. Three 3948-9564. That's what you enter. All of it together. 3948. Whether you're home team or visitor, my apologies. Whether you're home team or visitor, you enter that code. 3948-9564. It's right at the top where it says go to menti.com and use this code. Oh, we're on a big screen, right? So are people seeing it? Can someone give me a nod? The students are, yeah, the students are right there, right? It's all us old folks with gray hair. How about my faculty? Are you guys there? Is there anybody who's not there? You got there, Jean? Okay, if Jean's there, then everybody should be there because this Jean she doesn't know how to use her smartphone. She says she doesn't have a smart user. She only has a smartphone. So she brought her computer because I told her I wanted her to do this. So now on this first page, I only want the home team to answer the question. So if you work, study, or teach at UMPI, and there's three things, you can put a word or a phrase, but you put 3 words in. Only home team put words in, and we'll see the word. Someone has already put these 3 words in. As more people put words in, we will see the word cloud go. I always think this is cool when it does this. Any other home team that haven't entered yet? If you work, study, or teach at UMPI, see, we're still going. So one of the things that's interesting, if you're not familiar with word clouds, is if more than one person entered the same word, the word gets bigger. So you can see caring is a little big there. And you'll see it, because we have the free version of Menti, because that's part of UMPI's strength is we use free versions. You can see there's like the word engagement is a couple places, but someone wrote engagement of faculty and then engagement. So it doesn't pick up on phrases that are similar, only exact things. So if someone spells something wrong. So certainly we see community, caring, and dedication are 3 of our biggest responses here. So it's still moving, but all the home teams should be finished so we can go to visitors. Okay, all right, Heather, if you want to go to the next screen. Did you click on it? Yeah. So now the visitors, oh, they've started doing it on here. So now visitors enter, home team don't enter anything. But don't cheat and take the answers of the home team. You should have your own answers. So listen, it's the free version. There's only so much I can do. So, I mean, some people, this may be your first time here. So you could just think of something that President Rice said. But obviously you don't know UMPI as much as the home team, but what do you think are our strengths? So, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to bring Samantha in as well. But even just from a pedagogical point of view, you can see how this can be really useful in the classroom. We have a lot of different things you can do. You don't have to do word clouds with this. You could do bar graphs. There's other things. This is the one I'm most comfortable with, so that's why I'm using it. But I never used this until COVID, and I had to do things on Zoom. I'll tell you, it was a hard pivot for me because even I pretty much only teach live in the classroom, and I don't use PowerPoint at all. I go to Walmart and get many different colored markers, dry erase markers. And so then we pivoted in March 2020, and I had to create PowerPoints to be able to lecture online. And lecturing is crappy online into a black screen. So this is one of the things that I started using more of. And then we can keep these. So these will show up on my Mentimeter account, and we're going to print them for you. So you'll have them all tomorrow when we're done. So I think we're doing pretty well here. So you can see a big one here was community, online, and CBE. Oh, a few more visitors are putting things in. And could you scroll back for a second, Heather, to the home team? So community was big on both. So I'm wondering, I'll give it to Samantha. Maybe she can encourage a student, whether here or from away, to speak on community, or if anybody does, but Samantha, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can start. I actually am from out of state. I'm from Massachusetts. So definitely coming up here, it was definitely a big change of pace for me because I went from being like outside of a city to here, which is definitely with all the farms around and everything. It's definitely a little bit of a culture shock. But I would say that everyone on campus, like from the moment I got here, I just realized instantly that everyone was so welcoming and that you could tell immediately everyone wanted to go out of their way to see the best for you, and that they wanted to make sure that like you were going to have every opportunity and that you would succeed. So that's what I got. That's how I see the community up here. Support systems are huge, and the faculty, students, everyone is willing to help everybody, which is great.
Any other students or even faculty that want to talk?
Anybody?
Mention?
Yeah, Nicole.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I too am from a southern state. I'm from Alabama, but I've spent the last few years in Maine. And one of the reasons I decided to pursue my education at UMPI was because when I was here as a student in high school, I did dual enrollment. Something I noticed about the campus was the involvement with the community. Obviously, they were involved with my high school at the time. Even as a student here now, I noticed that the campus, they do a lot of collaborations with local community partners like hospitals, local small businesses, and a lot of the local resources. And that was really big for me. So it was one of the reasons why I chose the university.
Any other home team members, whether it be administrators, faculty, even if it's not the word community, is there a word up there that stands out for you that you want to share something? Go ahead, Chuck.
Chuck Ainsworth. One of the couple that kind of jumped out right in the middle, because I guess it's right in the middle, kind of like hitting the target, but flexibility and passion. And I think is really where UMPI's come to represent, and including that flexibility aspect. I recently had a student, she was full-time operating a small business, and she was trying to set a good example and finish her degree to show her children how important an education was. And she was pouring her heart and soul and reading her essay on leadership and personal leadership and how she developed as a leader. It was very touching. I think what was very appropriate too was that this Your Pace program was able to meet her needs in setting an example for her children. And interestingly enough, one of her children was also at the Holton Satellite Campus as a criminal justice student, and just recently transferred up here to finish her bachelor's degree at the Presque Isle campus. So I think the whole passion, community caring, flexibility, they all go hand in hand. And the viability of the programs to interlock and meet many community needs is critical, and has really driven results that can go a long way in promoting our ultimate ambassadors of our programs, which are our graduates.
I'm Kim Siebel. I'm a professor of history. I've been here for technically 22 years, but I was an adjunct for a year, so 23 years. When I first arrived here, there was a big division between the campus and the Presque Isle community. And the reason that I noticed that is because I like to do local history. And it was kind of hard to link up with people. And I think over the years, that strength between the community itself and the campus as a whole has increased tremendously. And I've seen that recently with the project that I've been doing. So I just wanted to point that out.
Oh shoot, sorry. One word that sticks out for me is caring. I'm from the city of Maryland. I'm from Maryland. And going to school there in the city, you're not accustomed to teachers or the faculty like caring about you. Like they don't really care about how you do in school, how's your outside life of school. And that was one of the biggest things that come into UMPI, is from President Rice to the teachers to the maintenance people to the cafeteria ladies. Everyone cares. And for me, that means a lot, coming from a place where no one does. So whether you're an athlete, whether you're a student, no matter what age, young, old, or whatever, everyone cares and everyone will support you no matter what you do, as long as this is the right thing. So.
So KJ is from the same area in Maryland that I'm from. It has a lot of, it is rural, but it has a lot of problems. And so I think it's nice to see that KJ is here and he is integrated. The community has been welcoming, because where I'm from, the community was not welcoming. I can reassure you of that. It has a long history. Anyway.
So I think in the interest of time, I want to hear from some of the visitors. So can we go back to the other slide in the bottom there, Heather, please? So this is the strengths from people who don't work, study, or teach here. So we see community there, but we saw some innovation, CBE. Is there anybody, whether it be trustees or my colleagues from other campuses or the students from other campuses, that wanted to speak to any of these, whether that you put it up or it's singles out for you? Staff? Anybody? Chancellor Malloy? Why would you see this as a strength? Certainly, maybe if this is your first visit to our campus, I know I kind of pushed you and maybe you cheated from the earlier slide, but it's interesting to see what other people say is our strengths.
So I'm Aiden Mulrooney. I'm a history major from Farmington, and due to the staff layoffs that recently happened, I am taking an online history course through Presque Isle, and I'm very much enjoying that so far. So that's why I put online as that word.
Good, right? Good to hear. Is it with Kim?
Felice?
Oh, John DeFelice.
Yes.
Okay, yes, okay. Felice. I'll tell him that you called him Felice. Yeah, no, it's okay. That's okay. I mean, everybody calls me Leduc. It's fine. Any other visiting team? Go ahead. You could use that right there.
I'm a fairly new member of the Board of Trustees, and I confess a lot of ignorance with respect to the details of your programs here, but I was incredibly impressed with the innovation that I saw with respect to the medical labs, the teaching equipment, the creativity with respect to how funding has been obtained to build something that is quite unique in this entire area. So it was very impressive.
Thanks, Barb. Anybody else want to add something? No. William's like, look, it's Patrick behind me. Okay, well, in the interest of time, if you go back to the slideshow, we'll go to the other survey. So if you click on, so this one, oh, I should put this back on. So this is, am I back on? Yeah. This is the same deal, but it's a different code. So now go back to menti.com, everybody, visitors and home team, you put in that code, 2366 5742. 2366 5742. I feel like I'm calling bingo under the B. So we'll do the same thing. Maybe I should have started with visitors this time. I didn't think of that. Yeah, maybe we'll start with visitors. So people get there first. Menti.com 2366 5742. So we are going to go the opposite way, I think. So if you can go to the next slide. Is everybody at 2366 5742? Okay, so now only visitors. So if you do not work, study, or teach at UMPI, what do you see as our greatest challenges going forward? This isn't weaknesses, it is challenges, which could also be seen as opportunities. So I'm looking for the visiting team to tell us, oh yeah, that's a big challenge. I've got the free Mentimeter here. Okay. Oh, Ned, did you say you were a challenge? Is that you putting you? No, no one has to own their answers. So location, I think that's people who had a long drive today are probably going to say location. I have to admit, when I was practicing this with Heather Nunez and our dean, Jason Johnston, came into the lounge where we were using on the big screen, practicing, making sure I knew how to do it with a large group. And I was showing a previous one that I used in my punishment and corrections class. And it was, the students had a brainstorm about all different kinds of punishment, historical. And so it was like death penalty in the middle of the screen was the biggest one. And Jason's like, this is what we're talking about at the board. So the visitors are getting in. Location is pretty big. I don't know if people are cheating and waiting till someone else. Demographics, population, budget, funding resources. Yep. So is there anyone that wants to speak to any of our challenges? Or do you want to do the home team next before we start speaking about it? I want to make sure all the visitors have their chance. Okay, it's not moving. So if you go back, so now if you work, study, or teach at UMPI, you should be putting things in here of what you see as our challenges. The soccer field. My home team is slowing down. What are people doing? There we go. We need a turf field. It's not like it's the first, trust me, it's not the first time they've heard that today. Wearing lots of hats. That's a big one. You know, I think all the staff and faculty here, and I think students would probably attest to that too. We talk about Ryan being in 7 clubs and Caroline doing a lot of things, but the same could be said for myself and the deans and other staff and other faculty. So we often do many things. You know, Sue isn't just doing enrollment management, she's also doing admissions. Obviously those go hand in hand, but we are very lean here. So wearing many hats, I think, is a really good one. Attracting diversity, I think that's interesting. So I see funding, resources, and location being kind of common. Could you go forward for me, Heather? Resources, location, budget, funding. It seems very common. So these are challenges, but it doesn't mean it's not attainable. Anybody want to speak to any of these, of whether how we could turn this into an opportunity, or what do we need from the Board of Trustees to get these challenges met? Anybody?
Well, yeah, exactly. I can take the hit. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think everybody shares the same concerns on the challenges. But if you look back at our strengths, to go back 4 slides, was that you have a commitment from the faculty and from the students to the best educational experience they can possibly get. And the creativity is shown by the students and the faculty to deliver a quality education in this location, put some of those challenges as strengths. And you can look at some of the innovative programs that are coming up, from the new ag program to the resurrecting of the outdoor rec program. There's all kinds of opportunities and great things happening here at UMPI, and putting a little bit of resources and some support from you folks into those programs will deliver tremendous results. So when you look at return on investment, you're really not going to find a better value than you are investing in your local community here.
And it's difficult not just to get students here, but to get to faculty and staff here. I remember when I was recruiting a colleague or an open position, and, I would go to conferences and other employment things in my discipline. And the first thing was I'd pull up a map, and you need to understand where we are. This is a great place for the right people, right? So for me, when I came here, I'm from Canada, and if I was going to move to small town USA, this is as Canadian as it gets. Like, there's a Tim Hortons, so I basically took the job. So it's the right job, but all joking aside, I like that I'm close to Canada, but I remember when I was here 21 years ago for my visit during my interview, and a colleague who's no longer here, but one of the things he said was, if you believe in the transformation of lives through education, this is the place you're going to see that happen. just like Chuck was saying. And that was a real hook for me. I taught at large schools I taught at University of Ottawa and Carleton University, where my smallest class was 700 and my biggest was 400. Sorry, 70. My smallest was 70. My biggest was 400. So coming here and having a class to be able to go do these things like internships or going to community and doing service learning projects, working with the Hope and Justice Project, the stuff, doing this kind of thing or doing seminar classes, I wouldn't be able to do that even if I was interested in going to Orono or at the big schools that I taught at in Canada. So for the right students and the right faculty and the right staff, this is a jewel, right? But for some people, it's like, why the hell do you want to live all the way up there? I now live further north than I did in Canada. I moved up to the States. But I really like what Chuck said about our challenges are also our strengths for the right people. Anybody else want to talk about challenges? Go ahead.
I'm just struck by it. Is it a surprise to anyone that your budget is reasonably sound here, your enrollment is up, when everybody that's spoken here has spoken about this caring environment, this solid, collaborative feeling that you have here, and whether you're a student or you're the university president, you all said the same thing. And to me, it's not surprising at all that this is a solid campus. And I just gives you a feeling of pride when you're here and you see that. So.
I don't usually do this, but I really want to give kudos to President Rice. I usually don't give him compliments. But I just want to tell you, like, no offense to the other presidents in the room, and I think it might be a factor of size, but I would think at all universities, not just in the UMaine system, that faculty reps won't necessarily text their president and go, Ray, they don't want to be presented to. We need to do something different. Zoom with me tomorrow. I have an idea. And he'd never heard of Well, he kind of heard of it. He'd never done it. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. It might crash and burn, but I think we should do it. And he did it. Right. And that idea that KJ was talking about, everybody from the president to the cafe staff and faculty. I remember being a few years ago at a admissions event, and I had some of my students talking to the potential incoming students, and Ray was walking by and said something to one of my students about something she was doing, a student who's actually in law school now, Valentina Nunziata. Lee knows who that is. And when Ray left, one of the things Valentina said to these potential students was, he's not putting on a show for admissions day. Like, that's what this campus is like. The president knows who you are and knows what you're interested in and when you should be in class and things like that. I mean, that's something you can't necessarily replicate on a bigger campus, but I do believe that starts at the top. And Ray will tell you, I don't give him a lot of compliments. Anybody else want to say something? Did you want to say something?
I think all of you know, all of the campuses are struggling with budget, and we as well as anybody else. But one of the differences here is Betsy has been our financial officer, has had open meetings all summer. And there's been a representative from every constituency on campus. The communication on this campus makes the community. This is different. We talk to each other. We can go to anybody's office and have a conversation. And that's how we're going to get to a middle ground and make this work. You have to be able to communicate.
And Jean and I are union leadership. So Ray's used to hearing from us, but we don't have a lot of grievances because we talk to people first. Jean is better at it than I am because she's a social worker. So she's a softie compared to me, but we talk to people to try to resolve issues. So yeah, we have challenges and we really need a new soccer field.
So this is hard. I hate being that one person that just, after all the positive things, just be that negative thing. It's not negative, but one thing I do want to see from UMPI as a whole is we have to find a better way to sell the school, if that makes sense. And the way I say that is because obviously location is a big thing. A kid from the city, we get a lot of kids from different places. We get kids from Australia, Tokyo, Florida, Alabama, Maryland. Like when we get here, like when we first get here, like not knowing like you guys are caring and stuff, like we like, oh, we want to go home. This isn't it. But they wouldn't know, like they would know what they're getting if we were, promoting what you're actually getting, if that makes sense. Like, am I making sense to you guys? Okay. All right. Bear with me. So like, I just want to see you guys, like us as a whole, because we're in this together. Just try to promote this better, because like when you get here, like I said, is the location is, we don't have Chick-fil-A. We don't have like other things that and those are the things that kind of keep students or make students choose, certain schools. So like, us caring the faculty, that's our spiel. That's how you're going to sell it. I just want us to, promote that more. And we need a new soccer field too. It sucks, being the only school that doesn't have turf. And, if we get turf, some students, like to play football intramurals. It is. And, it doesn't hurt to get lights. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt, so yeah, so just think about it. Just think about it.
And it sounds like, Sue, you should be talking to hiring KJ after graduation for recruiting. Oh,
Kawan.mentor@maine.edu. You know what I mean? If y'all, I'm here.
I'm going to let you finish it out, Samantha, because I've been talking this. So whatever you'd like to say.
Do any other students have any? Yeah. Okay. Here you go.
Okay, so it's not up there because it was on the UMP home campus. Oh. Well, I do know with the demographics, I've sat in on some DEI council meetings, and I know that it is a work in process. There is no easy solution to attracting more students from different backgrounds and demographics. I just want to say that I do know that as a student, and I've mentioned to other students that it is something that we're working on, not just as a university, but as a university system. I also put up there community partnerships or community, career preparedness. Not that I don't think that the university prepares students for our careers. Obviously, I feel like they do. I'm a student from UMP that has technically matriculated over to UMFK. I work at the local hospitals, and I see that I see oftentimes students come up here, and even some of our own, like the natives in Aroostook County, they graduate and then they move away. An issue is obviously the workforce is really suffering, and me being a nursing student, I'm thinking more about the healthcare aspect of things, where it would be, I feel like if we had more integration with the students on campus into some jobs or the job market in general, just an introduction, they can see the people that they're working with, the facilities that they're working with, because not only is the university great, I feel like the local community partners are great as well. They're really involved in, if we could find a way to integrate them in communities like Presque Isle or Fort Kent, and students will be more, they will be more encouraged to stay and work locally or work with those community partners or stay in the area even instead of venturing out. Not saying that venturing out is not good. It's just that it's just as great to be here. I've moved up here and I've stayed up here the last few years. So that's why that's up there. Not because I don't feel like the college prepares us for that stuff, just that I want to see more integration.
I can wrap it up, I guess. I would say my biggest thing is it's up here as one of our challenges, but I would say location. Like personally, I love it up here, especially, and I see like winters up there too. it's great in the winter. After your first like snowstorm, you're pretty much acclimated. I know we have kids from like Bangladesh and Florida, and they come up here and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. First winter, they're all set. But other than that,
I know we're finishing time here, but for the trustees, if there's any questions you had for any of the speakers or myself or Samantha or any of the people who put anything up there, did anybody have any questions? Also, please, obviously, during the reception, feel free to seek people out and ask some more questions. But anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? Go ahead, Barb.
My question is, the university system is undergoing a strategic plan process, and it's in the middle of not only gathering data about what those challenges are and what the strengths are of our different campuses and university locations, but seeking out innovative ideas or participation by faculty and students. And I would just leave with the request that that sort of process be promoted here. And we have a website, and there will be visits by those assisting us in developing this plan, but it will be entirely useless as a plan unless the people who are impacted by it, and that's you folks, not me, have a major role in developing it. So I just wanted to alert everyone to that process.
Yes, thank you. And I guess I would respond also to say to the people on the strategic planning committee is that data is really important, but these stories are also important, right? That might not show up in the data. They might not show up in an enrollment number or a budget line, but we have lots of stories that say there's value here that may not show up on a chart. So that's one of the things we wanted to get to today. Thank you. I hope you like this better than a bunch of slides.
Now I've learned to use the handheld microphone from Lisa. Just a couple of quick things. One, you know, this for me is a great experience because it is when people ask me why I'm here, it's because I'm truly humbled every day to work for these people that you just heard from. They are what make this a remarkable institution, and it is always in all humility my honor to work for them and with them. A couple other quick things I want to say is, and this came from Nicole's comments at the end, and KJ, you'll hear more about that at dinner. A little bit about demographics, workforce in particular. The other thing I could do is, could you raise your hand, the students that are here that did not grow up in Aroostook County? If you didn't, so if you didn't grow up, so notice the majority of the students that were here did not grow up in Aroostook County. Our challenge is to keep not only the students that graduate from here that came from Aroostook County, like Ryan, but also the ones that didn't come from Aroostook County. That's our biggest challenge. And I would say as another answer to what you saw on that slide, that's a challenge before us of an institution that is also part of the community. And you'll hear more about that tonight, why that is such an important challenge. Quick things, we're about to depart now to the reception, which is in the sill, what was formerly known as the library. So that is right down, if you go out the doors to the north, you'll find the walkway and make a left at the biggest building on your left there. Is that right? Oh yeah, it's that way. So when you go out that way, I'm always turned around in this building. So north is that way, and just make a left, and there's signs there on the sill, so you won't get lost by following me if I go the wrong direction. And at that reception, once I let everybody get situated with your libations and things, Rachel Rice is going to take just a few minutes to talk about the campaign. And you'll see images of that around just a few minutes. And that's exactly the kind of thing KJ was talking about, is how does this institution present itself and market itself and reach more students? So you'll hear just a tiny bit of that near the end of the reception. And then of course we go to dinner. So again, my thanks for your forbearance for us going over a few minutes. And I hope this was a valuable activity.
It's never happened before.
Okay.
But
It's never been my fault before.
for all of us on the board, I want to thank you very much. We always love to be able to come to a campus. It really does give you the stories and gives you a sense of why we do this work. But this was an experiment for us. We've always enjoyed the faculty spotlights, and we wanted to try a new approach and ask presidents and faculty and students to work together and tell us about their campus. And this was an extraordinary success. So you've set the bar very high, and we thank you very much and look forward to talking with you informally in just a minute. So I think with that, we will conclude the meeting and onward to our reception, dinner, and another presentation about what's up here in Presque Isle. So thank you all.